Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to isolate an angle to the race we might look back on later as a path to finding the winner. Well, Derby Day has finally arrived, and around the world you probably know Hong Kong for its international events. But I want to tell you that the most popular race in Hong Kong, certainly the big race for Hong Kong owners every year, is the Hong Kong Derby. They spend the GDP of a small nation on acquiring horses for this race. I certainly like the interest on what they'd spent, but it's here, it's on Sunday, and we have a very short price favourite. That's going to be one of the races I look at in this show. But first of all, we're going to take a look at race 6. And the winning factor here is the draw. This Class 3 is over 2,000 metres, same course as the Derby, and there will certainly be cases made for the top weight, 5G Patch, who's racing well. Super Bella has a terrific record at this particular course and distance, but further down the handicaps, Escape Route, Co-Partner Elites and Round the Earth are also going well, but also get improved barrier draws on Sunday. And those horses further down in the weights is where I'm concentrating, in particular Co-Partner Elites and Escape Route. Now Co-Partner Elites, he's had double figure draws at 5 of his last 6 starts, and the time he did draw well, he raced quite okay considering he pulled up lame on the dirt. So he really hasn't had the best of fortune, yet he hasn't been getting beaten that far. And this is his latest offering when he wore blinkers for the first time. This is race 415, and one of his rivals on Sunday, Round the Earth, in gate 9, orange colours, and he's steadied early to the back half of the field, while just to his outside in gate 10, green and blue with a white cap, is Co-Partner Elites. And Vincent Ho, he lets his mount run a bit early, looking to get over into the first 5 or 6 from that wide gate in a pace which is on standard early, but then slowing down as the race progresses. And as a result, Co-Partner Elites, well, he wants to keep running in those blinkers and won't switch off. You can see him fighting the rider, and by the time they've turned for home, he's already spent plenty of energy, but still puts himself into the finish with a close third, while we see Round the Earth in those orange colours making up ground along the inside into a close 4th. Now, Escape Route has been racing well, and he also had issues with a wide draw at Happy Valley last start. This is race 479, and he has red and black colours, gate 11, and his rider Karis Teton just takes him straight back to the rear from that wide gate rather than risking firing him up or getting caught wide. But it isn't ideal for this particular race, as the first 1,000 metres you can see on the heat map quite slowly run. The first 3 home in the race were in the first 5 all the way, and rounding the home turn, Escape Route has to come wide, right around the field, but then rattles home to be beaten only 2 lengths in 6th placing. And that's the difference that a draw will make, especially switching to the treacherous start over 2,000 metres at Sha Tin. When we take a look at the map, we have 3 likely contenders for the lead here: Woodfire Bro, Enjoying, and Can't Go Wong. And if they get into a brawl, they only have themselves to blame, as nothing else here is going to make them set anything but a soft tempo. So of all his recent runs, this really is the day Co-Partner Elites needed a gate, and he has one. So he can be neutral early, land midfield without being revved up, and Escape Route, forced to go back at Happy Valley, can also land in a handier position, as we've seen him do effectively before. 5G Patch and Round the Earth should also find comfortable spots. But for me, the tip in race 6 is Co-Partner Elites. His winning factor, the draw. He's been racing quite well, this horse, with difficult draws, and I think the setup on Sunday will make all the difference for him from a good barrier. And the second race I want to look at is in fact the Derby. It's race 8, and our winning factor here, the favourite. Plenty of good stories and some very talented horses in this year's Derby, though perhaps a few of them with their best to come later on. However, this Sunday I think the chances are down to the obvious. Favourite, Beauty Eternal for Zach Purton and John Size, Super Sunny Sing for Chris So and Vincent Ho, Hugh Bowman on Sword Point looking for his 3rd Derby and his 2nd in tandem with Frankie Law, who also won with Furor, and the joker in the pack, Casper Founds looking for a third Derby, and fly-in rider Damien Lane for his first with Galaxy Witness. So for the Derby, I always like to wheel out a few stats over time, and one of them is definitely not the distance, which is where a lot of people go looking for the winner. In fact, there are more Derby winners that have never seen 2,000 metres before than have had experience over it, so that's not a factor that I really look at. Now this year is the first Derby where we haven't had a horse rated 100 or higher by the handicapper. For many years that was some people's go-to as a bomb-proof way to find the winner. Not anymore, that one's gone. Now there has been a little bit made of the fact that the last Derby winner to have had as few prior starts as Beauty Eternal 5 was River Verdon, who won the race at his 5th start 32 years ago. But on this graphic you can see there's been a steady trend in the last 20 years towards horses in the Derby having fewer prior runs, whether it's overseas or once they arrive in Hong Kong before they get to the Derby. So not really something I'm concerned about. And there's another big stat around Derby favourites. Now in the last 20 years in the Hong Kong Derby there have been 7 odds-on favourites. 5 of them lived up to expectations and won the race. The other 2 beaten into second place in very good efforts. So they certainly have lived up to their pre-race billing. And I think that ties in well with 6 of the last 10 Derbies being won by a last start winner. There are often multiple last start winners in any race, but the Derby's 20% strike rate and being ahead of market expectations for those horses compares well with the long-term percentage in all Hong Kong races, which you can see here is last start winners coming in at about 17% at their next run. So what about this year's crop? Well, since the Classic Cup was introduced in 2006, 12 of the Derby winners in that time have come in through that race. The other 5 have come in off wins in Class 2. In fact, 2 of John Sizer's 3 Derby winners were Class 2 winners in the lead-up, and that's what Beauty Eternal is trying to do this Sunday. And that's how Beauty Eternal comes in this year. His Class 2 win in race 447. He's in gate 2, the black, white spots and pink sleeves, and he begins well before allowing the regular leaders to go ahead. Now, the lead here is deceptively fast. The sections from the 1200 to 800 and 800 to 400, each 4 lengths faster than normal. And if you watch closely, Beauty Eternal does travel quite strongly here in Zach Purton's hands through those fast sections. Will he relax in the slightly slower pace of a 2,000 metre Derby? That's probably a big question for him. But in this race, there's never a worry for his backers. He cruises home, and although the final section you can see was quite soft, he was throttled down at the finish. But as mentioned, the Classic Cup is the designated lead up to the race, and once again this year many of the runners came through that race. So we're going to take a look at that next, and there's plenty to look at. This is race 453. The winner, Super Sunny Singh, is in black and blue, gate 5. Sword Point in green and yellow, gate 13. Galaxy Witness, yellow and red colours from gate 11, and Flagship Warrior, gate 10, yellow and orange colours. And the first thing to note is the different race shape to the Classic Mile, which was a slow early, and then from the 800 metres the tempo lifted sharply, making it difficult to make ground. Now this time the pressure went on at the 1200 metres, as you can see on the heat map, making life tough for the 5 that got a break on the field at the top of the race, but particularly highlighting Sword Point, as he was contesting that lead all the way and still ends up running second. Super Sunny Singh, Galaxy Witness and Flagship Warrior are positioned midfield or worse, and we see them in the home straight. They close the race off as the leaders tire, with Super Sunny Singh doing by far the best to win the Classic Cup. And from a sectional times point of view, the finishing sections there from Galaxy Witness, Flagship Warrior and Super Sunny Singh over a well-run 1800 metres were all faster than the final section from Beauty Eternal over 1600 metres. So I'm sure that some of the opposition will take a fair bit of comfort from that and a bit of encouragement that they can beat this favourite. But to the map, and the other thing that is different between the Classic Mile, Classic Cup and the Derby every year is of course the shape of the course. The 1800 metres and 1600 metres have long runs to the first turn down the back straight. From the 2000 metres there's less than 100 metres to that first turn, and that turns then for another 500 metres around to near the 1400 metre start. So it's a totally different kettle of fish. 2000 metre races as a result tend to be busy early with a greater need to find position. And I can see Tuchel and Sweet Encounter, with blinkers on this time, looking to use their gates, and Keefe, Beauty Eternal and the Keen Going Encountered handy too. Sword Point and Voyage Bubble look to me the most likely leaders, and I think Bowman would be confident that Sword Point will stay strongly. In fact, I think it's his trump card, and would not be afraid to take up the front, even though the last Derby winner to lead all the way was Williams' coach in 1989, and that's when the race was still over 1800 metres. Super Sunny Singh, we've seen him ridden quietly from good draws, so expect the same from a wider draw. And if Galaxy Witness is to win, he needs Lane to bury in midfield on the rail, spend no energy and get one sharp run at the leaders. The model for him was another doubtful stayer, Sky Darcy, who won the Derby from gate 2 and didn't go around a horse until the 400 metres. For Beauty Eternal, I'm looking at Purton's Derby win on Luger as the blueprint. Now, Purton wanted to use his tactical pace that day to get across from gate 12 and into the first 5. Well, the operation failed and he was caught wide, but the patient lived and Luger won anyway. From gate 7, he should have more joy finding the position here that he was looking for that day. But the tip in race 8, the Hong Kong Derby, has to be Beauty Eternal. His winning factor for me, the favourite. Sometimes as punters we overlook the obvious to our detriment, and this horse, he's done everything asked of him so far, while most of his rivals have been a bit hit and miss, and he still has more to give. As I said, hot favourites have a great record in this race. I think he'll be a hot favourite, and we're going with the flow. Well, that's it from the winning factor for this week. Enjoy the Derby. We'll see you next time.